People, Deluded, I'm back again now. I'm on my break, and yeah, I've still got a lot on my mind in relation to Arsenal versus Liverpool, admittedly, people, so you know, we might as well speak about it. Should we start off with the positives from that game? Positives, I'm not gonna lie, there's not many, just because of the backdrop of how Arsenal have been, but personally I think there is some positives we can take from the Anfield game. Now, we can sit here and, you know what, I'll just mention them already. Yesterday, we showed an inability again to hold the lead. I swear, at a point, on two occasions, we had a 2-goal margin. I believe a 4-2 and 3-1 respectively. So, while it's young players and all of these sort of things, so I'll give the young players time. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what team is out there, that fundamentally keeps happening at the club. To which that's down to Emery, because I look at Liverpool last night. Yeah, they had some issues defensively with young players, but I wouldn't say the way they played, it wasn't massively far away from their best 11 in terms of just the tactics and positioning and things. Obviously, the quality of player is different for those of you that are not sensible. So there was that. Obviously, individual errors and just cheap goals. There weren't really many of them Liverpool goals, fair enough. The Oxlade one, and I actually feel Origi's goals were good. That can't be described as cheap goals. But then again, you look at Origi's goals, it's poor marking from us, really. You can't let a striker go unmarked in them areas, and Origi, done it to devastating effect. Obviously, Emery's substitutions now, Torreira and Ozil, you could say they're lacking fitness, so they might not have been able to see out the 90 minutes. But I also believe in, again, I'm not a physio and things like that, but I also believe in, apologies for the noise, people, playing on adrenaline, man. I think if you ask Torreira and Guendouzi, truthfully in their heart, Torreira and Ozil, sorry, truthfully, if they were able to play 90 minutes and complete the last half an hour or however many minutes left it was, I think they both would have been able to do it. Now, we'll get on to Emery's comments about Ozil in a bit, but there could be reasons behind it, and surely with the backdrop of XHAKA, you'd expect someone to be involved, people, in Torreira and Ozil, if not both. I definitely want both to play against Wolves. I feel Bellerin looked alright yesterday, but he still looks a bit rusty. Could we potentially give him one more week, not off, but one more week before bringing him into the Prem? You could say, yes, he still looks a bit lacking off the pace, but he was convincing. I felt the experienced players let us down, specifically members of the back five, including Martinez. But the good things are, to a degree, put together some good movements. The young players went out there with a bit of freedom. Martinelli, we'll get on to Martinelli in a sec. He's actually a big part of this vid. Martinelli did all right. Mesut Ozil with the passes. Maitland-Niles made mistakes, but he did all right. Not the best of games from Saka and Joe personally, but Joe scored and Saka did his thing as well. So there's things that we can move forward with as a team. It was also nice to see Tierney telling the players to go clap the away fans. But Martinelli, people, you know me, I don't like to hype young players and things, but it's impossible not get carried away with Martinelli, but not think of the player he could be tomorrow. Like, God knows where he's going to be at 20 years of age. Like, he really does scare you, man. We know a bit about him now, but he was the young player, I'd say, up until a couple of weeks ago, we was the least exposed to. He wasn't playing 23s, clearly he was learning. And I know him and Amichi's position isn't the same, but I can potentially see the club's thinking now, with Saka elevating and Martinelli coming in and allowing Amichi to go in terms of the spaces. But Martinelli, whether he's going to be a striker or a winger, or he's going to do a quick little apprenticeship on the flanks, who knows, people. The man's incredible, man. I feel his movement is amazing. Like, obviously he's been coached, but I think a lot of his movement and his instinctive play, you know, when it's just born in a player, I believe it's born into him. There's certain things you can't coach. He's got that good savageness nature about him, cerebral approach. Obviously, I love how he chases lost cause. The work rate is amazing. You can tell he wants to leave it all in the ring. Technical qualities are there. He doesn't do it often, but when he does drive with the ball, he looks decent, man, and all these things. Martinelli looks good, man, and I really hope, if he can develop into the player I believe he can be, the striker I believe he can be, I really hope, similar to Van Persie, when Martinelli's of age, there's no little boy inside him that says he wants to play for the Madrids and Barca's. I want Martinelli to stay forever, people. Especially with Aubameyang and Lacazette with their contract stuff, and obviously with their age away from their contract stuff, we're probably looking at long term, we need to either buy another number 9 to score goals for us, or develop one. Personally, I would love to be in a position where when the time comes between them strikers are going, we've got Martinelli who can play up front as well as the flanks, and I personally believe we need one, if not both, of Eddie and Nketiah, Tyrese, John-Jules and Balogun. We need to, and Sam Greenwood, we need to, if he's going to be a striker, because he's got more qualities than just a striker, but in an ideal world we need a couple of them to progress into the first team in terms of depth. Like an ideal world would be we have 2 good number 9s. We obviously have Pepe and XHAKA and all of these players. If Martinelli isn't going to be a number 9, we've got Martinelli in the squad, and we've ultimately got good defensive options. I look at Liverpool as the blueprint, man, because if I'm Klopp, again, Liverpool's attacking options are amazing, but I also think, imagine if Liverpool had that 9 or had a striker they could rotate in and out that could score mad goals, how incredible they would be, or how that could take them up a level in regards to their Premier League race. Obviously we're a long way off Liverpool, but I'm looking at that blueprint in terms of the options they have now and what I would build if it doesn't make sense, if that makes sense, people. Obviously Martinelli's got 7 goals, man. Like I said, man, I said it in a previous vid, even from pre-season, if he wasn't necessarily scoring, when we scored goals, he wasn't far from the crime scene. Like he was hustling and bustling. And again, I don't want to compare him to Cristiano Ronaldo. He's nothing like Ronaldo. He has to go a long way if he's ever going to become a fraction of Ronaldo. So please do not get my comments confused. But when he talks of Ronaldo and as a viewpoint and things, I can see why he looks to Cristiano Ronaldo as a sort of guide to model his game on, potentially. As he gets older, he'll potentially have to learn to be in cerebral areas, not being, because his youthful enthusiasm does take him all over the field, but he's going to have to learn to be in effective areas to score goals like he's already doing. Obviously the rough edges in his game are what should be with a young player anyways. Obviously the foul in the box, at times he makes fouls like free kicks and that unnecessarily, like he lets his enthusiasm make him make silly tackles. And I feel he's got to keep his high standards that he plays in the game in the same first minute in the 90th, but that's due to stamina and things like that, and he's still developing physically as well. So it's impossible not to get gassed off Martinelli, people, personally. Moving forward, I want to see Tyrese John-Jules get a look in the Europa League. He's unlucky in that he probably would have got opportunities if he wasn't injured, because there would have been chances in the Europa League in the Cat Yarabel. We're now at the Cat Yarabel. Potentially will he feature in the Europa League? I hope so, people, because I do believe out of him, Eddie and Balogun, we've got to look to progress 2 to the first team, man. I think all 3 of them are going to have good careers. There's no secret I'm a big Tyrese John-Jules fan, and I'm happy that he's over his injury and he was able to get some minutes off the bench, I believe against City, if I remember correctly. He's got the technical qualities, he's a striker, but he plays like, he's similar to Lacazette in how they try to drop deep and play make, and obviously not everybody has to go on and develop and be this mad 20-goal striker. I hope he can, but some players got to be good squad players or just be integrated into the first team, and I do believe out of Balogun and and Tyrese and all of these players, we've got to look to do some of that, man. And it's no secret I'm a big Tyrese John-Jules fan. Hopefully he gets a look in the Europa and whatnot, man. Martinelli's probably the 3rd choice striker right now on the side, but I think we've got to look to be integrating a lot of them, and if EMERY'S going to be here long term, he's got to look to bring through one of these strikers, one of the 2 strikers in Balogun and Tyrese, also Eddie, who's on loan, Greenwood eventually as well, and obviously you got the Cottrells and people below that potentially could get chances, the Azizes. Personally as well, I think we've got to work with the likes of Holding and Joe Willock. I'm a big Holding fan, and a lot of you are as well, but you can't flip-flop about banging him. I told you lot, people, there's no system at Arsenal to be screaming Tierney come back, Holding come back, Bellerin come back, we're going to defend crazy. It's not that. Holding is still developing. Stop looking at him as the Messiah. I'm a big Holding fan. I want him in the lineup. But like you saw yesterday, he shows his relative inexperience. As a defender, it sounds cliche, but you only get better with age. For me, his heading was atrocious, his positioning was poor, and at times he gets too tight. I'm a big Holding fan, but this is where I've got to see Emery coach these boys and improve them, these young men. Joe the same, because I feel Joe was okay yesterday, but minus his goal, did he have the best of games? He weren't poor, but he wasn't exactly, see what I'm saying? And I think Joe could have showed a bit more. I want to see Joe develop into a more complete player. I wouldn't say dictate the tempo, but if he's playing in the pivot, I think he can show more of an outlet on the ball, looking to drive forward and just play simple passes like he's done before. So I'm looking at them, these are individual players to develop to that personally, people, but also Emery if he's going to be here long term. Finally, let's crack on with Ozil. Now, on Ozil's performance, Emery said, and it's a bit large, it's too small, I had to large it up, people. He said, I think he played very well. Tonight you've seen he's a skillful player in the team, and he was very positive every time, and I think he played a good match. We spoke before the game and we made the decision in the second half to take him off because he hasn't played for a little while. That's an understatement. And we want to keep his fitness. He was very tired, but for him it was great to play 60-65 minutes. Obviously, when further pressed on substituting Ozil, he said we decided it before the game. to play him for only that matter of time. And I do think Ozil, obviously with how certain other players have reacted and how headlines could have been drawn, he did it well to kind of keep it composed. He did look obviously disappointed to be subbed at times. Whenever he's played, he's been subbed unnecessarily this season in the rare times he's played, but he's just got to remain professional, and at the end of the day it's the manager's decisions. Moving on, he said on further inclusion, obviously for all of us we're assuming that means Wolves. He said yes, he will feature. We have a match on Saturday and we'll look at the possibility to use him again alongside other players and this way sometimes. So maybe because of, you think Wolves are going to come, they've been playing, what, 3 at the back, 5 in midfield. I wouldn't say teams are going to necessarily sit off against Arsenal, but you'd imagine they'd sit 2 banks of 4 essentially, hard to break down. You need, as well as your other attacking players, Ozil to kind of pick the locks and whatnot, people. So we'll see what happens. Featuring could mean 90 minutes, it could mean 60 minutes, it could mean 45, it could mean the last 20 people. We'll have to see. I want to see Torreira play as well. And yeah, people, that's all I wanted to say. But Martinelli, my final point, people, Martinelli just looks like a quality player, man. Cerebral Brazilian, like it's scary, man. It's almost the fear of the unknown. Just how good could he be? I don't care about overrating players and who rates him and who not. I just know he's a good player. But if he potentially was at another top 6 club, at another team, he would potentially get more hype. Now, I know a lot of Arsenal fans get too excited with young talents and players in general, and as much as they gas them, quickly throw them by the wayside. And I can see potentially that's why people might not be taking Martinelli in. But other fans do that as well. I'm not here to say he can be world-class, this, that and the other. If he works hard, I feel the world is his oyster, based on what I'm seeing. But he's a quality player, people, man. And it's scary how good he can be. And you can't help but think how good he's going to be at 20 or in his mid-20s, people. And obviously he's been called up, I believe, to the Brazilian Olympic side, under 23s team. He's already on the radar, clearly, of the long-term thinking of the Brazilian national team. Statistically, he's one of the highest scoring young players in Europe right now. So we'll have to see. If he was at another club doing this, everyone would be making scouting videos, myself included, and saying he's the next one up. I wasn't watching him before his move from Brazil here, but I'm loving what I'm seeing from him, people. On that note, people, Deluded, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking.